This is John Zaninovich. Welcome to Move My Mass. You'll be hearing from great guests talk about balancing life and being fit. Hey guys, welcome to Move My Mass. Dave, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Finisher of year 8 of the Rock Cobbler.
Yeah.
Not just a finisher, but an incredible finisher. Sam, the promoter, you've been on before, but thank you for coming again. We got to get I would like to get the view of the promoter versus, the finisher and how it all went down. So, you were on last time and we talked about the Rock Cobbler a little bit, but get into year 8. How long was it? The shenanigans, the hills, get into it. Get into this year. What Rock Cobbler was all about.
We talked about this before with Rock Cobbler, and we talked about what a just batshit day it is. I mean, it's nonstop climbing. It's not easy. If you're going to do the cobbler, you got to come into it with something. You don't come into the cobbler with nothing. You don't get off the couch and do it. It's a really hard day on the bike.
Yeah,
it's a hard day physically.
You have to be in shape for it.
So 8.0 brought numerous challenges. COVID being one of the things where we had to move the venue and do things differently. So that turned the dial of the course. And in that process, we had a lot of lumpy, up, down, 20% up, 20% down, 20% up, 20% down. Just a lot of really hard stuff at the end, which was a unique scenario. And a lot of people talked about that and all this sand because the weather's dry. It's April. So it was a harder day in a lot of ways, and another really good cobbler in the books. Just on top of everything, a solid day on the bike. Yeah, it was very hard. It was good.
How many feet of elevation was it?
Almost 8,000.
And how many miles?
78.
Yeah, that's incredible. That kind of elevation with that many miles, and let's get to you. You've ridden it every year, correct? And I don't even know where to begin on your cycling accomplishments. You are incredible. You're fast. Everybody knows that, which is awesome. But let's stick with this year. You had a difficult year, some, mechanical issues. And so what was it like? How'd it go for you?
Well, I have to say, you're saying, take it as year 8.
Right.
I take it as year 8. And in talking about that is I've had no mechanical issues for any other year. And for the record, I didn't ride last year. I worked it because Sam had requested me to do that and gladly did. Great event. It takes people to put it on. Yeah. And I'm more than happy. I pay him back for that. So that was year 7. But to year 8, yes, I had mechanical issues right away. Maybe 3 or 4 miles in, but
because I was helping cook, and we had it's not you guys.
We heard right away. David's pedal broke.
Yeah, well, you guys had just left, and I heard you come in yelling for Jenny. Yeah. Jenny, I need. I'm like, wait a minute, this has already gone off. Why is he asking for something? But go ahead.
Yeah, that brings on a whole lot of things. I'm a local, and I have knowledge of the course because of the reconnaissance we do. And then, of course, I know my way around there. And I know if I break down here, what's the nearest place to the street that I can be picked up where I can get back to the venue. So, in a lot of ways, that worked to my advantage to where we had the COVID issues and had to have the last minute change in the start-finish venue because where I broke down, you were never 5 miles from the start.
Right.
It was like you throw spaghetti against the wall and that's your course.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I broke down early on and had a pedal issue. Right pedal broke, and I knew the course, and it happened to be at the longest part of the climbing. So the longest climb in the course was maybe 4 kilometers, 5 kilometers long. It wasn't long.
Right.
And it broke well before that. And I was able to, because I kind of know the course and because I could think in my head, well, let me get to this part. Let me keep going.
Yeah.
I'm thinking in my head, what is it going to take to try to fix this pedal?
Yeah.
And I went through some crazy scenarios in my head of what was going to fix the pedal. The first one being, I need some baling wire. Now, I don't know how I came up with it, but I actually...
The baling wire.
I actually asked for that at the first group of people. Do you have any baling wire? And the guy responded appropriately. I'm fresh out of baling wire.
Right. So was your plan to just strap your foot to the crank and just keep going?
Yeah.
I thought I was going to somehow thread it through and tie it to the crank arm, but I hadn't calculated in my head, because it is the cobbler and because you're climbing, 15% grades right out of it. I was missing a little oxygen that the pedal needs to revolve, and no way I'm going to get baling wire and attach it to my pedal. Had come halfway off the spindle and was dangling on there. So it hadn't completely fallen off, but it was completely non-functional.
Right. So for the listeners, this is all in jest, talking about baling wire and all that. You ride probably a $4,000 or $5,000 bike in the I don't know, in the range.
Yep.
So I just wanted to make sure, the listeners are understanding this is actually a sophisticated bike that you're riding,
it's not a beach cruiser.
Not a beach cruiser from the backyard that you're going to throw some baling wire on. This is just in jest. Like you're thinking,
stuff happens.
You're right. As a cyclist going through a race like this or an event like this, and you have a breakdown that early, all options start. Even if they're wacky, they start hitting your mind.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. You're out there. That's what this kind of event is about. And whether it's the gravel events in general, but I would say particularly for the Rock Cobbler. I mean, I've done my share of off-road and gravel events, but this, you're more likely to have a problem in this kind of event. You know it going into it.
And why is that? Why is this a higher likelihood in this event?
Because the beating that your body takes and your bike takes, and the terrain that you go on, and the rocks, and the single track, and the quick dips, the quick up that Sam makes you go through.
Right.
People now should sort of realize it, because I think the Rock Cobbler has a reputation. I know it tenfold. I've done them all, but I do the reconnaissance, and I live in the town. I ride on some of this stuff. That's not the private property where we happen to be on at that time, but it's not like I'm not familiar with this area. Right. And I know these things can happen, but it's such a special ride that because, I finished 6 of them, done the reconnaissance on all of them, I wasn't about to not finish 4 miles in. Whether that's me, myself, or, hey, this kind of ride.
Right.
The other point to that I got to say is there are some local guys that we ride with who have had mechanical issues in this event before.
Yes.
And kind of set the stage for how deep they'll go and how far they'll go to finish it. I have a buddy that broke a derailleur.
Yeah.
Clipped his chain, made it there to a single speed. He walked, he said 9 miles, and I don't think that is an exaggeration.
Well, I'm sure he did.
And this is a guy that usually finishes with me, and he made it in before dark that year, but he wrote it there, but he didn't quit. So that was also one of the first things in my mind is okay.
Right.
So I got to second stage. I
got to try a few things.
So even with all your issues, you finished in 6 hours and 27 minutes. Did I get that right?
On that. Yeah. That is my finishing time.
Right? It doesn't matter, really.
Well,
That's fast. That's
if you're going to
fast.
say that, it's.
He had a little Darton back.
I did get picked up by my wife at a spot.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. I did go back to the venue where I was ready to quit.
Gotcha.
Because besides my pedal, I had fixed my pedal by that time.
Right.
But I had a tire issue.
Right. And that's the one.
And that's happens all the time.
But I'm only asking because what the winner do it in? How fast? 450?
432.
432. Okay. Crazy fast. But pro
not so fast.
Just not so fast. So as a promoter for this event, what's your goal? Is it to design it more as an event or as a race? What's your goal behind this?
The goal is this. We always talk about the Cobbler in its 8th year as not being a race. It's sort of an inside joke now, but it's well adopted among participants. It's not really a race. It's a big, giant adventure ride.
Right.
You know, those 5 or 10 guys that they want to race it, when they get done, they sort of, you know, they're like, yeah, okay. I finished 3rd or 1st or 4th or whatever. And I usually will go up to them and pat them on the back and be like, yeah, you did great. Here's your beach towel.
Right.
I'm like, oh, I get a beach towel? I'm like, well, yeah, if you read the instructions, you just get a bigger beach towel than everybody else.
Yeah.
So that's what I love about it. I want the Cobbler to always be, so to your question, I want it to always be a big adventure.
Mm-hmm.
I want people to come that have never done it. And I love hearing Dave's story, he was on every recon that we did purposefully.
And I am going to get to that.
Because he's a good soldier. He's the guy that will, hey, don't turn right, turn left, do this. So my point to the people that want to come and race it, absolutely, bring your A game. I hope you want to kill each other on this thing. And that's going to bring another element to the course. But at the end of the day, it's not really a race. It's a big, giant adventure ride that proposes challenges to everybody. Mm-hmm. So, I love being able to talk about that after. Because they read it and they read it and they read it, and we tell them, and like, yeah, I got it. Yeah. They get done, they're just so stoked out. And I'm like, oh, well, you get a bigger burrito than he got. So what else do you want?
Yeah.
I'll get you get 2 beers and he only gets 1 beer.
What percentage of the guys or racers that show up do you think of it as a race? 20%?
No.
Not even that?
5%.
5%. Just going to go out there.
5 tops.
Yeah.
5 tops. Yeah.
And then I would say that is what the movement of gravel, lack of words, but the idea of that, and that is absolutely the appeal to people that have raced.
Yeah.
And may not want to always do that, or don't want to do that anymore. The people that would say, I would normally do this century.
Yeah.
And this kind of takes the place of that. It's a challenge or whatever.
Sure.
But no, the people, if you wanted to split it into waves of people that really want to race it, people that want to do their best on it, but people that want to race it, and everybody else, first wave is going to be 15 to 20 people, and then everybody.
And then everybody else it's an adventure.
It's less than 50. I guarantee it's less than 50.
Right.
100%.
Yeah. And I've only ridden it twice. And both times, and I'm wondering how many racers, you can answer this. Well, you've ridden it, of course, but you get out there and you're having a blast, but at some point you get wiped. You're just tired.
Yeah, you're smoked.
And you look at that next shenanigan, and it's no longer like,
that's not really fun anymore.
Of course, it's fun at some level.
Yeah.
Then at another level, you're like, I have to freaking do this.
Yeah.
Whatever it might be. So I kind of leapfrogged a little bit. Let's talk about the shenanigans. What were the shenanigans in this year's? So the Rock Cobbler has, how many aid stations did it have this year?
4 aid stations.
4 aid stations. At those aid stations, there's usually some kind of game or some kind of obstacle you have to perform. Go into that for us. this year.
So in all of the years of the Cobbler, to back it up just a little bit, we do goofy stuff. Like the first year we made everybody do push-ups. So you couldn't get your little, we had to give them a little business card size thing. You had to get your card punch. You had to do 20 push-ups.
Yep.
So as the event grew, it was hard to control that. It was hard to go, every person has to do 20 push-ups. So we recognized the growth, and we transgressed out of push-ups into, well, what can we do? Like, that people just laugh at. So one year you were there, we had them throw darts at a big blow up, postcard of me. And, if you hit me in the face, you got $5. I mean, just stupid stuff. We rolled beach balls down the hill. Every year we have the crazy hike-a-bike. It's just gnarly, stupid steep.
That's where you get called crazy names.
Yeah, and I get called very, very, very bad vulgar names.
Yeah.
So to your point for this, so that's the sort of thing that we've done every year. Every year we try to do something new. So this year we were sitting around a table much like this and said, well, what are you going to do? You're going to ride through your living room. You're going to, have a polar bear. I don't know. What are you going to do? So came up with the ball pit, which there are several videos out there of the ball pit. Oh, yeah. And everybody ate a lot of shit in the ball pit. Early on, it was full. I mean, I spent $1,000 on ball pit balls. And it was ball pit. Well, the ball pit was like a McDonald's ball pit at a playpen
like
thing.
a Chuck E. Cheese's ball pit where you jump in.
It had 1,000 plastic balls. And I tried to ride through it on the motorcycle in advance of everybody. I ate shit. I still have a little scar above my cheek. The first people that came through ate shit. It was stupid. It was the stupidest thing.
That's what you have
and
to
there's
have.
a video, one of the videos out there is like, do you have anything to say to Sam Ames? And the guy's like, he's a complete jackass. Like, why would you put this in the middle of the course? So it came at mile 37. But you know what? That's the Cobbler. That's what we do. That goofy shenanigan for me, it was a highlight. There were several other things that riders would compliment about and say, oh, the hike-a-bike.
And so for me,
the sand. So
I was cooking all day. That was the only shenanigan I knew about. What were the other ones?
Well, we did the hike-a-bike. So every year we do
That's
this.
not a shenanigan.
Yeah.
That's just straight up torture.
It's a bit of a torture.
Try to kill somebody.
Well, the other one was the tire toss, which I think is going to be, I think that's going to be a keeper for years to come. Yeah. So we had everybody that wanted to participate throw a tire. And if you could throw the tire and ring it around a little pony keg, your name got on a list. So we had 9 people out of 400 that did this. And when they got back to the venue, the prize was $400.
Uh-huh.
We split it because half the people were still on the course and half of them were in. So I said, hey, you guys can get 200 and you guys get 200. Right. And they're like, yeah, we have no problem. But we have a tire toss. I mean, just you had to throw a mountain bike tire over a pony keg. That's
why not?
Who does that?
Why not?
Nobody does that.
So I'm just going to use this as a moment to explain why we're having cocktails during the podcast.
Yeah.
If you're discussing the Rock Cobbler at this depth, you have to have a cocktail or a beer.
It says in our writer's Bible that on bar stools in the dark of the night, beers were poured and shenanigans were laid. So it's a perfect arena to say the same thing.
Correct. So he's discussed the shenanigans as a promoter. Now, as a writer, what are they like for you when you, especially on a day when you've broken your pedal, had tire issues? Are you coming up to those obstacle courses, shenanigans like, oh, hell yeah, this is so fun? Or are you like, son of a bitch, can I just get home? Be honest, which way is it?
Be honest.
Honestly, I still see myself at 50 years old.
Mm-hmm.
One of these guys that wants to ride it as fast as I can. As much as I'm there for the fun and I understand the fun.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm on the course, I'm a navigator. I know the thing. People will know, hey, it's going to be sandy up here. Now, hey, take the line to the right. I'll help them out in any way. I'm a good ambassador for the event there. But I also want to go fast. and I don't want to hang out. So in the tire toss, even with all my mechanical issues, I was back on the bike and riding very fast at that time and feeling good. I bypassed it. I didn't do it. I thought, no, I'm getting a time. Maybe a little mental issue there. So
the racer brain. It's a racer brain.
Totally, I get that.
How do I feel about the shenanigans? I get to those shenanigans and I reluctantly do them on those things that you have to do. The ethels, running through the tires. I think it's a little ridiculous, but I do it. And I know about it. But I do want to talk about the ball pit. So one of the things this year with the ball pit was I come down it. And when you come down it at a point in the race that when you finish the race, you're going to do a 6 hours, 27 minutes and not a 4 hours and 30 minutes.
Yep.
I came around the corner, knowing the course and knowing that it was a little challenging with rocks. And I see a couple hundred balls just out on the periphery. And I'm thinking, oh, how cool, colorful balls. What a neat, escape looking at the view. Oh, Sam really kind of did this well, not knowing that it was a pit of balls, not knowing that people fell all over the place going through that. So I had no clue. Even after the event, it wasn't until I saw videos days later that I go, oh, so that's what that was. So here I knew about the event, knew every inch of the event.
Very close friends with the promoter.
Yeah.
But he will always say,
there are things I don't tell him.
I'm keeping some things from you. And so that was one I didn't know.
In fairness, that's a true
even
story.
when I did it, I didn't know.
Yeah. He doesn't know. I keep it even as close as Dave and I are, and we are pretty much blood brothers. I don't tell everybody everything. There's a couple that I keep in my satchel that only I know about. And I tell other people because they have to set it up. But, he comes around the corner and doesn't see that. And, so that's what I love about the Cobbler.
Oh, yeah. You know what? So I've ridden it twice, worked it almost every year.
Yep.
I think I've missed one or two, but when I've worked the course, the fastest guys are the nicest guys when it comes to the obstacles and all that.
Sure. They're trying to be polite.
Even if they're just, even if they're being polite or if they're just playing the game, whichever. It's the guys that are, say it's a 300 field course. It's a guy in 200 that's pissed.
Right.
Like, I don't have time for that. I'm like, trust me, the leader's like 3 hours ahead of you.
Yeah.
You've got all the time in the world to do this shenanigans.
Yeah. I don't know who you're winning, champ. But you're just winning yourself.
And the winner is getting the same thing you are at the end. Maybe a bigger burrito.
So sometimes at the finish, that's the funny thing. They're giving hugs and they're flipping me the bird and they're like, hey, when do I sign up for next year? And the accolades. The joy that I get out of it is really when they come down. They start processing it and they're like, we had to hike up that stupid hill. We had to run over these tires. We had to go through a ball pit. Went through your living room. And they just have to process. So in the middle of the moment, they want to win. They want to be 52nd, And the part that I love is there's just really no winner. If you won, you won. You won in your head. You won against him. You beat me. But what I love is when they just sit there and start laughing. And why? Why did you do that? I was like, well, because we couldn't think of anything better to do. So
go ahead.
Yeah.
I think
what are you going to do next year?
I think this is a good time for this story, which I did convey to Sam and the individual mentioned was that's an interesting point. The guy in 200th place that takes it. I'm kind of that guy. And again, good ambassador, kind throughout things, but year two, on a year before this became real well known, and the fast guys were 2 or 3 of them, and then local good guys, and then you got the people that want it as a bucket list item. On a second year that I finished 9th or something like that, it went up to a turnaround point, and the little shenanigan was
Chocolate.
And our friend, our racing buddy, a guy who was super fast and that you would kind of want to impress if you're there, like, hey, look at how I'm doing. Mike Hudson was manning that station. Yeah. And he also had a jug of water up there to refill
that was
the
on
balls.
Breckenridge.
That was on Breckenridge.
Yes.
Turn around.
Rancheria.
Right. Turn around on Rancheria. Real steep climb, dirt road, but you get this pavement climb, and you get up to it, and there's Mike there. Mike, who's stopped racing since then and understands things a lot better than I do. And, I throw him my bottle. Fill my bottle. I got to catch the guys that are right there. And he told me later on, it was maybe a week after the event.
Yep.
But he said, of all the people that came to me that day, everyone that finished, that got up to that point, said, you are by far the biggest asshole. And you know me, you know the event, you throw the ball at me and say water. I said, well, I was trying to race it. He said, the guys in first and second were laughing and having a good time and thought this is the coolest thing. So
well said. Well said.
You're right. Take that to heart that, maybe I'm missing the true meaning of Christmas here.
But that's, it is.
But that's, live and learn.
That's a great story.
I still remember that.
That's a great story.
And that's, that's the essence of the Rock Cobbler.
Yeah, it's just the whole thing is a big shenanigan. It's hard. You can ask Jonathan Baker, Brian McCullough, Phil Tinsman, Tinker Warriors. You can ask all the really heavy hitters that have come, and they'll tell you like, "Oh, I had a blast."
Was this the hardest year?
Oh, I know
it wasn't the longest, but was it the hardest?
It wasn't.
That's a question every year.
I don't know how you quantify that.
There would be.
It was hard.
The only thing it was hard. Second half was hard, but the one thing that was different was the start finish was in the hills. Normally there's the promenade out.
Right.
And then once you get out of Hart Park and you start moving, you kind of know. Okay, you might have some sand, you might have to cross a river bottom, that sucks. But the hard stuff, the hard climbing, am I going to have to get off for this? That's done.
Yeah.
This year,
wasn't
done.
Hard from beginning to end.
It was all
from
around
mile 2. It was just straight up. So that's a whole different.
The second third of the event was the hardest part of the event, and that's not normal,
right,
for this event.
No, not at all. So I don't know how you answer that question. It's just every year is different.
They are.
Every year poses its own challenges, which is the way that we script it.
And I only ask that because cooking at the event and being there when the first finishes are coming across and people that know me and come up, seem like this year more than most. Every year, people talk about how hard it is. Every single year. This year, at least a couple said, I signed up for the full cobbler, ended up doing the pebbler.
Yeah.
Like, changed my mind. And I've never heard that before. I'm sure it's happened. It's happened.
And they didn't even get into the worst part.
I'm
sure. And then they made the right call if they did that.
And these guys are fit.
Right. And they jumped, they pulled parachute at a point where it was going to get substantially harder.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That junction at Hart Park was, if you turned left, you're committed. There's no getting out of it. And it was horrible after that. Fun horrible, but fitnessly horrible.
Yeah, a quarter mile as the crow flies is 2.5 miles with 1,500 feet of climbing in it. Because you pitches. Do this thing. You went up. You went down, you turned around. I told one lady as she was riding and she was looking good, and I gave her some words of encouragement, and she says, but we're almost done. And at that, this event, knowing what was coming up, you have to, shoot somebody straight.
Almost done.
Rip the Band-Aid off. And I said, you're going to be, for the next 10 miles, are going to be the hardest of the whole race. And she couldn't believe it. but I do believe
100%.
I do believe I did the right thing.
You did the right thing.
As a rider, and you get to prepare then.
Yeah.
If you're told that, you just accept it and say, okay, now I know what's coming.
Yep.
And you just go through your
You may not like it.
mental checkpoints to figure out, okay, next 10 miles are the hardest. I will figure out how to get through it.
Yeah.
If you've got the fitness, of course. But if somebody says, no, you're almost done, you're right there.
Oh, that's
and
the
that's
worst.
actually, it's the worst
The
10
worst.
miles left.
Yeah.
Then you're pissed. You're exponentially more tired. You're just crushed. Yeah.
The volunteers that are on course are the best, and they're wonderful, and they're well-meaning, and they're there. And when you come through like I did, way later than I expected, but there's 150 people behind me. So people are out there, and so the volunteers are out there. But yeah, how you cheer on or how you direct somebody that comes by you in the first hour and what comes in, and they may not have the any experience in this type of event. And so if they say, you 20 miles to the finish, well, 20 miles can be a number of different things in terms of difficulty. And so I think for that, that's why I love being on the course, and I would never steer a competitor wrong, never. But to tell them that, to say somebody, and they obviously recognize that I know the course, I had that all the time too. Are you from around here? They want to check. Is this a guy that's just watched up the straw, or is this a guy who knows? And yes, I know. I live here. I know every inch of this, and just, conserve, go steady.
Right.
If you're fighting to stay with so-and-so, you might want to back it down.
There are so many people that ask me what the Rock Cobbler is about as far as difficulty. And all I can tell them is that Sam's going to take you east of Bakersfield, and he's going to take you up every pitch and every climb that exists out there.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Pretty much.
And that's the best way, the difficulty is up here.
It's not an easy ride. It is. That's the thing that people every year go away, they're like, you aren't joking. I said, no, I told you since year one, and he knows, it's stupid hard. It's stupid hard because of all the steep stuff. We have the landscape we have, and we do the best with what we have.
Oh, it's incredible.
But it's not like anything else that we've ever been to. Right. And we've been to several. We've been to Crusher. We've been to stuff down south.
Which are hard.
I mean, they're not easy. They're not strolls in the park. Right. I'm not talking rolling hills of Kansas, which is, if anybody knows me, that's sort of my inside joke about gravel. Like, you're just going to do this stuff. That's hard. There's plenty of that you're going to race. I'm going to race him, and I'm going to race you. Speed, and it's going to be really hard. What we try to do, which is what we do with what we have, we put the course against you. Mm-hmm. And we say, go do that. And you come back with it.
And speaking of that, we were talking earlier about how you do recon rides. You do sections of it as it's being developed. And you think in your head, okay, I've ridden most of the sections or 80% of the sections, whatever, and you have a time in your head. Well, I'm going to finish this, and I'm just making numbers up. Sure. I don't know what you really, but I'm going to finish this in 5.5 hours or whatever is in your head. Then you get to the actual race. Yeah. And then there's a huge difference in riding 2/3 of it, 1/3 of it, half of it during your weekend rides versus now it's go time to ride the whole thing. Yeah. And you realize, what your time is and what you think the top finisher's time is changes dramatically.
Yeah, good point. I do want to backtrack a little bit and say, number one, I know Sam's mind, and he does come up with it in sections. Mm-hmm. And he wants to get some fun. He wants to take advantage of certain parts, and we're going to start here, and we're going to do this, and kind of, we've done that a couple of years, so I want to do this. So he's thinking in his head, and it's a very fluid thing. But when we do reconnaissance, he doesn't have the whole course in his mind at the time. He wants a section, And we do the beginning third. We do the middle third. We do the final third.
Yeah.
Hey, let's go back and do that. So
Makes it easy that way.
it makes it easy, but you don't see the whole thing together in every single year as I do the reconnaissance.
Yeah.
True.
I tell Sam, you're not writing this. You're making this too hard. People are going to be finishing at 8:00. They're not going to finish. I say the same thing every year because I think in my mind, you forgot that you kicked our ass this time, and now you're coming out kind of fresh to us. Let's look at this thing. And so we do end up at some point putting it all together. You got to get it on the computer.
Got to get that. Yeah.
You got to get that. And so every year it's been that. And I haven't missed a one of those, even though I didn't compete or do the thing in year 7. I've done every single one of those. And an added bonus this year, I did the Pebbler route from where we thought it was going to start.
Uh-huh.
And then it got postponed, delayed.
Yeah.
And so I did the new Pebbler route, and then I did the new full route. So I that was a great bonus of doing all of those and seeing the different things and seeing how hard it was going to be. But
nobody gets 4 recons. This guy got 4 recons.
To your point, we do the whole thing, and you've got to get together a group of people that can do it. You aren't going to. We need each other out there. We've done a few where it was Sam and I and 1 or 2 other people, and I just want to turn in, but no, I got to get it on the computer.
Got to get the file.
He's calling his son to come out and bring us sandwiches. I mean, it's crazy, but you got to get the file.
Got to get the file.
But every year since year 1. We have completed the whole thing with some stops that we wouldn't normally take, but we're riding pretty good.
Yeah.
Let's get this done. I don't want to be out there any longer than I have to. And it comes out in 6.5 hours, 9 hours, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And we play this game every single year.
So to your point, he finished in 6.5 with a broken pedal.
And a tire issue.
And a stupid broken bike tire pedal.
And if I hadn't done that, I still would have gotten 50
doesn't matter
or something. But to put it in perspective,
he's the epitome of the cobbler. He is the epitome of a guy that we would say at his age and with his wherewithals, wherewithals, whatever you want to call it, the cobbler. That's what we want at any age.
And I want to ask, how do you keep your motivation up? You have been extremely fit for as long as I've known you. How do you keep this intensity up in cycling as consistently as you do? What's behind that?
That's a deep dive.
You
might need me to lie down on the couch for this.
But you were always in shape. And for you, you're like, no, I'm not always in shape.
No,
you're
I
always
feel like I always am.
You always are. I don't know if that's rare or not, but
it's not rare. It is. I was given the love of these types of things by my father, who continued to do some things. He always found a little challenge to do. Running was a big thing, and marathons and ultra distance running, and then some triathlons and some biking. So I kind of have that bug. Maybe there's some things that I got from that. I have, through Sam and going back to racing, criterium racing, road racing, cyclocross events, I got back into the sport from, some after college years and some triathlon years to my true love of riding. And I got into those masters events, and I make fun of masters events and masters racers, and that they take they suck the whole wind out of it. But I will say one thing with that is that those events, not just Sam's events, but definitely Sam's events with cyclocross, there was always a kids event.
Oh,
yeah.
Gotcha.
Always a kids event. Free little thing, do a lap, do a thing, do whatever you do.
Yeah.
I had kids around that time. They started on little BMX bikes to little mountain bikes they got, hand-me-downs from our kids the same age. Oh, you're riding this kid's bike, to, oh, they got their own little cyclocross bike, to hand-me-down road bike stuff. So my kids came up to that. I have 2 boys and a daughter. It's my youngest. And she swims competitively. But my 2 boys not only partook in that, but ended up loving the racing. So the format of that, but the format of that, where we say, oh, masters racing, but you have that thing where the masters racer comes also with the family and with the kids, and got that. So what kept me going a little bit is my oldest son, Parker, raced competitively and aged out in the junior category, but we traveled a bit. He raced for a team up north, and we traveled. He raced nationals. He did different things on road bikes. So I made a point that that's going to be one of the things that I do with him, is when I take him to an event and he does an event, if they also have a Masters or a Cat 3 or whatever it could be, I could race Masters 35, Masters 45, or a Cat 3. I could fit into any category. And as long as I could help him and do him, I could get in a race, and that would be a thing. So I did that for quite a few years. He's 21 now. And so I'm hanging on to a little bit of that, because I know that when I do stop doing that, I'm not going back. And there's a little thing to hold on and to do it, as long as I'm having fun, as long as it's not keeping me from doing something with a child that deserves my time and attention for what they're doing. Then I'll do that. So that's it. So I'm still there barely. I'm teetering.
Gotcha. So what's a typical training week for you?
I ride 4 days a week. I've ridden 4 days a week for 12 years. It's perfect for me. Tuesday morning, Thursday morning, early morning ride. Saturday, big long ride. Sunday, sometimes a recovery, sometimes a hard ride. Sometimes that's when Sam says, let's do some recon.
And you're like, there will be no recovery today when that happens.
If I ride less than that, I think I want to ride more, and I miss it.
Yeah, we'll go.
And if I go on vacation and I think I'm going to do a cycling fantasy camp, I think if I did this a couple of weeks in a row, I would hate cycling. And so you get to a balance in life, a balance in what you do. I found, for me,
you found the balance.
4 times a week. I still love doing it. I want to do it.
What's your long ride? What's a long ride on Saturday, usually?
Anywhere from 55 to 85. I mean, it depends on the terrain. It depends on the time. If it's in the dirt, it's out. But
2 to 3 hours.
It's a beast. I don't know what to. I used to do that stuff with them.
You're a beast.
No, I can't ride those guys anymore. They're just, they're still maintaining a level that I said when I turned 50, the ship sort of sailed. But I love it. I mean, he's still one of my best friends in the whole world. And there's a part of me that loves that. There's a part of me that, we rode this morning, right? So I turn it on.
How long did you ride this morning?
Well, I did 4 hours today.
He's turned on. He's turned
on. But in the 2 hours, we tuned it up a little bit, and no part of you leaves that. That's in the move my mass scenario. There's that stuff where we always want to be as good as we once were, right? I mean, that's probably the blanket statement. I always want to be as good as I once was. I still want to do that level of cobbler. I want to come in the top 20. I want to, go do this 7-hour thing. I want to do this 2-hour thing, whatever it is. Totally. That's the moving part. That's the moving part.
So, and you've already got next year's cobbler in your mind, right?
Oh, it's swimming around big time.
Does that happen instantly?
I'm actually leapfrogging ahead to year 10 because it's a 10-year anniversary. I already know a couple of parts of the course. I know exactly what we're going to do, and it will be the worst ever in 10 years. Gloriously horrible.
Guess what, Dave? He just told me I'm not writing it.
And I'm not telling you what it's going to be.
Yeah, I know he's
All
not
right.
telling me what it's going to be until
He
I'm
probably
writing
won't
four
write
of
it.
them.
He
So,
won't
but
get
let's-
it.
Oh, crap.
But I forgot. So it is year 8. We're
Yep.
getting to year, 2 years, year 10. The other cool thing about the Rock Cobbler are the gifts or
Yeah.
that you give
Gifts.
out.
Yeah. We didn't bring an axe.
We did. So this year was
or
an
a
axe.
hatchet.
Can you guys remember what each year was?
Yeah. Oh, I can tell you right now.
All right.
And you can back me up if I
Sure.
forget. Year 1, we gave everybody a rock.
Right.
Okay.
Rock was the trophy.
Okay. Well, it was a river rock. I mean, it was a rock. We gave him a rock. We gave everybody
correct him
a rock.
if he's wrong. I don't remember.
And a cool swag bag, but we gave them
Okay,
a
so
rock.
what was year 2?
Year 2 was the hammer.
That was year 2?
Year 1 was a hammer. Also.
No, year 1 was a rock
Okay,
for sure.
all right. Well,
I
year
think
1
rock-
was a rock. I've got that. Okay. So year 2, hammer, stamped.
Yes.
I
Hammer.
think
I redid
think
my
year 2 was the
driveway,
hammer.
my asphalt driveway, and I used
Not a hammer, a
said
mini
hammer.
sledgehammer.
a little
Sledgehammer.
sledge.
Yeah.
Year 3 was
I pounded some new pavement into
I used
it.
mine
So
year
go
also.
ahead.
3 was the pocket monkey.
Pocket monkey and
Oh. 2 gifts?
No, pocket monkey. Year 4 was the apron.
apron.
We
That,
gave
that,
everybody
that had
a Levi denim apron with the logo on
Personally, one of my
And-
favorites.
it. Okay.
and what did it also have in the pocket there?
Oh, Slim Jim.
Slim Jim.
Yeah,
Oh,
give us Slim
nice.
Jim.
That's
Yeah,
right. I remember
yeah,
that.
Slim Jim.
Yeah.
Year 5, we went big, which we're going to do for year 10. So year 5, we give everybody is basically a camping tool. And those were expensive. I mean, I spent a lot of money, which I would do any day of the week for my cobblers. It's a barbecue tool. You pulled it apart.
Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
A Swiss Army camping tool.
Yeah.
Spatula, basting brush, knife, spatula, fork. And we laser engraved the handle. So that was
Yeah.
year 5.
Yeah.
Year 6, what did we do year 6? Year 6, we did the cutting board. We gave him a bamboo cutting
Oh,
board.
that's right.
Mm-hmm. Year 7, we did a frying pan, a cast iron
Right.
single serving frying
Yeah.
pan, engraved the handle.
Love that one.
Used so far, you can see.
I mean, there's
used all these things.
yeah,
there's a pattern.
I worn
Yes.
the T-shirt. I look at the trophy, but kind of used all of it.
So year 8, we gave them a small hatchet axe. They can chop wood. Carry
Yeah.
water, chop wood.
It's a great gift.
It's everything every year is purposeful, except for year 1. I don't know what you do with a rock. Bash his pedal back on.
Yeah,
That would have
I
worked.
did.
That would have worked.
I mean, that river rock
that
would
is
have
what
done
happened.
that for sure.
Yeah.
But every year we give them. Who wants a trophy, right? Who wants a T-shirt? And we do some of that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
But oh my gosh, you paid me a lot of money to come do this gnarly ride and have a good time. I want to give you something.
Mm-hmm.
Give them cool stuff, man.
And those
So-
are cool things.
So year 9 and 10 are already figured out.
So he's thinking big for year 10.
Big.
You're going to be there. You're in, of course, right? Of course.
That's
Yeah.
I mean, so that's a marriage.
He's
That's a marriage.
Right.
Yeah, I'm stuck.
He may ride, he may work, but he'll be there.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It hurt me
When he
he
says
did
work.
an interview where he said, "Who's been the only person to ride all the events?"
Yeah.
Who
I
is
heard
who
him
is
on
that?
Yeah,
Glenn
Imke.
I don't-
Imke.
Glenn
Glenn
Imke has
Oh,
done every one.
That's
I,
right.
there,
He
there, was,
came in
there,
late
there was
today.
no hesitation in a negative way other
No.
than David is one of my trusted friends, my closest confidants. And last year when I asked him to help, we had a little gulp in the bottom of the throat. And he said, I'll do whatever you want to do. But you do realize this is going to break my streak as the second only guy that's done all of them.
Yeah.
So Glenn, to you,
Good job.
I say cheers.
Yeah,
and
cheers
you
to that.
are
He
Cheers
is
to
the
that.
a
he
true
is
cobbler,
truly the only one.
and he is a great guy.
Watched him
Um,
come in this year.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Great.
So it's only with humbleness that I
Right.
thank David for his,
Right.
participation as a course provider.
Yeah. Well, guys, thanks for coming on. Looking forward to year 10. Looking forward to year 9 first,
Yeah.
of course. But
I
year
kill
10, it sounds like something big's going on. And
Yeah.
now you're scaring me a little bit. So, yeah,
Me too.
thank you for coming on. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
Looking forward to the next race.
Let's do it.
Enjoyed this.